The webinar will begin shortly. Please remain on the line. The webinar will begin shortly. Please remain on the line. The webinar will begin shortly. Please remain on the line. The webinar will begin shortly. Please remain on the line. The webinar will begin shortly. Please remain on the line. The webinar will begin shortly. Please remain on the line. The webinar will begin shortly. Please remain on the line. The webinar will begin shortly. Please remain on the line. The webinar will begin shortly. Please remain on the line. The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
You can go on, Ankita.
Okay, sorry for that technical glitch. Okay, so as I was talking about, any compliance doesn't come only with the requirements, it also comes with an annual cost. So when I talk about the annual cost, it talks about your time, your manpower, and also the legal resources. And adding to this, there are almost every day there is a daily updates. For example, when a budget is a streamline, new budget proposal is streamlined, again there are few updates which a MSME needs to take care of. And this data also suggests that only in the if I consider only the financial year 24-25, there was around 9331 changes that has taken place. So yes, I do agree that this compliance is actually sometimes can be the burdensome process for MSMEs. But can we be ignorant on this? No. The answer is specifically no. So when I talk about uh, this, the very first thing for MSMEs which comes in the picture is your Udyam registration. And here also, very sorry state of affairs stands that my many MSME friends are still not aware of the fact that Udyam registration, your MSME registration, your Udyog Aadhaar memorandum is all talk about one thing only. They are just a nomenclature, because every now and then I come across a query. Bank is asking me about the MSME registration certificate. So Ankita, can you help me on this? What it is? And then I am on, case, sir, it is nothing but your Udyam registration. So here it is where it starts. The struggle starts where my MSME friends are ignorant on the fact that their MSME registration is nothing but their Udyam registration. Accordingly, when I talk about does this Udyam registration needs to be updated every year? Yes, it does needs to be updated every year, but not from your end. It auto fetches the data from your income tax portal and from your GSTN portal, right? So you need to take care of your income tax compliance and the GST compliance accordingly. I still remember, I'll just share an example with you. There was a MSME certificate which dues only if you are a MSME supplier. Okay? So if you have any payment stuck, or if there is any payment which is stuck for you, you can take an advantage of the MSME Samadhan portal, now extensively known as MSME ODR portal. But there also, the first and the foremost priority thing or the checklist that they ask for is for your MSME registration, where you registered as a MSME supplier on the date of your supply. So see, And when I talk about this MSME registration, or to be more specifically, Udyam registration, it is nothing, it is a self declaration form with a hassle free or a zero free documentation, and accordingly, zero fee fees also. But a very sorry state is like many of my MSME friends are not aware on the correct Udyam registration portal also. So that is why there is a lack of opportunities which they missed upon. So why I am emphasizing more on this, it's like Udyam registration lays down your foundation, wherein if you are looking forward for any priority sector lending to access your loan or credit facilities, the very first thing that you need to tap on for MSME benefits, if you need to tap on the MSME benefits, you need to have your Udyam registration certificate at place. The second and the foremost thing which I consider is really dear to my MSME friends is the subsidy. Now, there are every now and then that the central government or the state government are announcing some incentives or subsidies to the MSME units. But again, your eligibility criteria there also stands if and only if you are MSME registered, because mainly those subsidies are for whom? Are for MSME units. But if there is a scenario that you don't hold your MSME certificate, you can lose on this government subsidies also. Then your tender participation, because MSME stands as the backbone, today stands as the backbone of our economy. So there are everything that the government wants to support, every way that the government wants to support the MSMEs. But again, if we don't have this Udyam registration, we lose on the tenders also, important tenders. And accordingly, as I was mentioning, MSME Samadhan and the MSME ODR portal, that is the launch of MSME government of India for delayed payment cases. So accordingly, you can tap the benefit of your any benefits of MSMEs if and only if you are complied with your Udyam registration. Now, again, the second and the most, or rather the most basic compliance which every MSME needs to have on is the GST. But what actually my experience says is, लोगों को ये तो पता है कि जीएसटी रजिस्ट्रेशन लेना है, बट कब लेना है, क्यों लेना है, या फिर उसके क्या डिफिकल्टीज हो सकते हैं, वो बहुत सारे लोगों को अभी तक पता ही नहीं है. सो व्हेन आई टॉक अबाउट जीएसटी कंप्लायंस, it is only legally mandatory once your turnover crosses rupees 40 lakh for goods or say 20 lakh for services. It may differ for some special category states. So, when a business is about to start, or rather is just at the ideation stage, does taking registration at that time is good or bad for that MSME? So I will just break it down. It's like just taking a GST registration certificate merely doesn't solve the process or the purpose of this compliance. You know why? Because once you are a GST number holder, you need to comply with the annual compliances. That is, you need to comply with the GST, excuse me, you need to comply with the returns. You need to comply with the monthly and the quarterly returns in the form of GSTR1 and GSTR3B. No matter even if you are not at the scaling stage, no matter even if you are not making any sales or purchases and your book stands as a nil, because once you take the GST registration, the foremost compliance which stands on any unit or any specifically MSME unit when we are considering is you need to file your monthly and quarterly returns, and then once you are at the ideation stage, this was the stage where I was talking about when your business has not started, not commenced. And in case your business has started and then you need to take care of your GST dues and you need to pay them by the 20th of the following month. Accordingly, please reconcile your GSTR2B with purchase books on a monthly basis. So these are the some basic requirements if you are a GST registered. Now, accordingly, there are some common pitfalls also, or rather, when MSME face operational challenges that impact cash flows, there are many MSMEs who are facing this operational challenges. So what they do, they incur heavy penalties just because of the late filing of returns, because returns need to be filed at the due date only, and if you are missing on the same, there is a penalties attached to it. Then again, if your ITC mismatches resulting from vendor filing, it delays. Then there is a manual errors. If you're not maintaining a proper bookkeeping, so there has to be a chances of manual errors and reconciliation issues due to the lack of digital accounting system. And I should also mention that it also blocks your working capital due to the compliance gaps, because the advantage of filing the GST returns, which you can take in this month, if you're failing to comply on the same, it blocks your working capital. So now, if I talk about what can be the solution for it, the solution stands as an MSME must adopt a GST compliant accounting software that automates calculation, ensures timely filing, and minimizes reconciliation errors, or rather significantly reducing their compliance burden. Accordingly, you also can have your own GST consultant that can take care of these due dates. Now, going ahead with this GST thing, I would also like to take forward the input tax credit. Why I'm talking about this input tax credit, or familiarly known as ITC, because somewhere for the MSME, it's a cash flow secret. So for the ones who are not aware of this, I would just like to make them understand what is the basics for ITC. It's like, GST paid on your purchases is actually subtracted from your tax liability on sales. The very own agenda because of which this GST was brought in, avoiding the cascading effect. So this is what basically ITC stands for, the basic of the ITC. Now, how does it work? So it works for it helps in tracking the eligible expenses. Now, ITC works exclusively with GST compliant suppliers, clearly distinguishes between eligible and ineligible expenses to maximize your valid claims. And most important, it also helps in your monthly reconciliation, which is very important, or rather the need of an hour. So how? So it automates invoices, captures and reconciles with GSTR2B monthly. This ensures that MSME purchases records match government data perfectly. So this is how it acts as your secret cash flow, and accordingly you can also claim it promptly. Once you're taking care of all these compliances, the claiming thing also becomes easy on our part. So now I don't think I need to elaborate on this, why we need to take care of income tax compliance, because this is how it acts as, blood. Finance acts as a blood for any business unit, right? So this is why any MSME needs to take care of being compliant on the income tax part. So when I say staying compliant with income tax regulation is not just a legal obligation, I would say, but it's a strategic advantage for MSME aiming for sustainable growth. Supposedly, for example, if I go anywhere, or rather I need to apply for a tender, what is the priority checklist that I would be asked for? It is my IT returns, right? So that is where it comes, how important it has to be in your daily business routine. Anything you talk about, whether you talk about business loan, whether you talk about any strategic partnership you are looking forward for, or whether you talk about the health checkup of your own MSME unit, the answer will be, are you income tax compliant? So that is why it matters the most. It ensures financial transparency and builds credibility with stakeholders. It significantly reduces the risk of penalties and legal complications. You can avoid on any notices, any tax notices, if you are compliant on the income tax. Furthermore, to add on, documented legitimacy through proper tax filing facilitates easier access to credit and loans from financial institutions. So, how to comply? It's like use your business PAN for all your major business transaction to maintain a consistent audit trail, maintain a accurate digital financial records throughout the year, file your ITRs before the due date. So when I'm talking about this ITR, as I was on the first slide, I was talking on about the Udyam registration, our MSME registration. And I was also elaborating on the fact that we do not need to manually intervene in updating my Udyam registration, but at the same time, Udyam fetches the data from the income tax portal and the GST portal. So that in wherein my category of MSME, whether I stands today as a small MSME or in the bracket of medium or in the bracket of micro, it depends on my how compliant I am on my income tax part. So now labor law compliance. We all are aware that recently only the new labor law has been announced, right? And there are many incentives. When I talk about the government incentives, especially when it is in the state, there this criteria comes out. How compliant are or you are on your labor law thing? I'll just share an example. Since we are closely hand holding on the government incentives part also, so there was one MSME unit which was compliant on everything. When I was talking about their ITR returns, yes, checklist done. On their GST returns, checklist done. So are they maintaining proper books of accounts? Yes. But where they failed, was in this labor law compliance. Because when any incentives, or rather any advantage you want to take the benefit of, this also matters. How you are taking care of this? Are you filing your PF and ECIC returns? Are you registered under the Shop and Establishment Act for commercial operations? Are you ensuring that you're mandatorily EPF registrations for organizations with 20 plus employees? Are you maintaining their meticulous payroll records and attendance register? Are you complying with their minimum wage standards and the workplace safety regulations? If the answer is no, then my dear MSME friends, please comply with it. Because you never know, you can lose on a very incentive part just because you're not complying with this, right? And moreover, it is not only compliance depends on how you can incentivize or how you can take the benefit out of it. It is also crucial for protecting your employee rights, because any unit, whether it's in the form of a proprietorship or in the partnership, there has to be employee run unit, right? You cannot have a one man show just as an employer. So to have a trust of your employees, to ensuring that you're have giving them a fair treatment, it acts as a shield against severe penalties and the potential litigation. Moreover, I would say a compliant workplace enhances the company's reputation, making it an attractive workplace for top talent. So, if you're missing on the labor law compliance, my advice is please comply at the earliest. Now, environmental compliances. How many MSMEs are aware that they need to be compliant on the part of environmental also? not only on the income tax, not only on the numbers when I talk about GST, employees, but an MSME needs to compliant on to be the environmental part also. For manufacturing sector, environmental compliance, it's not just a regulatory mandate, but a cornerstone of sustainable business operations. It ensures operational legitimacy and safeguard the ecosystem. Now, wherein I'm sitting in the city of Maharashtra, Pune. So when I talk about the mandatory environmental requirement here, all the manufacturing units must obtain a consent to establish and a consent to operate from the State Pollution Control Board. So when I am sitting here in the Maharashtra, I need to comply with the Maharashtra Pollution Control Board, MPCB. So, additionally, adherence to fire safety protocols, factory regulations, and the implementation of robust waste management and emission control system is compulsory when I talk about the environmental compliance. Supposedly, a unit is there, who wants to run a manufacturing setup of, I would say, uh, fabrication. So, do you think that MPCB consent to establish or any other state pollution control board consent to establish or consent to operate is needed? Yes, the answer is yes. You need to be environmentally compliant. If you are not having that compliance certificate on records, again, as I was saying, you can lose on your incentive part. So when I am referring again and again that, incentive part, what do I mean? There are many incentives, state announced incentives and the central government announced incentives, which a unit, MSME unit, can tap on. But only and only if you're compliant on these basic things. So, the one foremost thing, or one of the mandatory requirements in Maharashtra, which stands as, or rather in any state which will be standing, is your MPCB consent to establish and MPCB consent to operate. But how many of us are aware on the same? Many, or rather, very few. And there is also the lack of awareness that I need to have both the certificates. When I'm going to start a business, MSME must be known or aware of the fact that they need to have both the consent. Or rather, when you are going for any business loan, forget about any incentives I'm talking about here. If you are proposing for any business loan to any private, commercial, cooperative banks or nationalized banks, the foremost regulation part, or one of the requirement there also stands, are you registered under the State Pollution Control Board? So, my dear friends, all my MSME units, do register under MPCB or whichever state you need to adhere to, and have a proper obtained consent to establish and consent to operate for your business unit. Now, very dear to me, this compliance, corporate compliance. Now, many of us or many of you must be thinking that why it has to be dear one, because we MSMEs fail to understand what kind of a business idea or what kind of a business thing will affect more to me. As in, should I go with a sole proprietorship? Should I go with the partnership? Should I register myself as a private limited or private limited company or LLP? Every nomenclature I was talking about here has their own flaws and has their own benefits also. Accordingly, choosing a wiser one is a need of an hour, because staying compliant also means choosing a right compliance thing. Suppose, because being a company secretary, when I see there are many LLPs, there are many private limited companies which are floated on the paper. जिसका मेरे पास इनकॉर्पोरेशन सर्टिफिकेट है, but are we complying on the annual compliances part? The answer stands no. And are we aware of the fact that it is bringing or it is inviting the huge penalty for us? No, no one, or rather very few are aware on this. I would just like to share an example. There was a unit, existence from the year 2002. 2002 say they have their partnership deed. So what their understanding says, just mirroring making a partnership deed and making it notarized gives them an accessibility. Yes, they are a registered partnership firm. So now, in the recent course of time, when I was handling some of their compliance part, I got to know that this partnership firm, which is into existence from the year 2002, is not registered under the ROF only. So, does the validity of my partnership firm stands today? Will I be able to tap the benefits which a partnership firm, as a registered partnership firm, I am entitled to? No. The answer is no. I cannot. Why? Because though I have my partnership deed on record, the thing which I'm missing is I don't have the registered partnership deed on record. So the one who is having their partnership deed and has still not registered under the ROF, I would suggest please do the same today itself. The one who are registered as a LLP under the MCA, but if are not following the annual filings, so please do it. Please consult your company secretary or any other professional and maintain that compliance to avoid the penalties which can attract of being non-compliant. And accordingly, if I am a private limited company today, standing as a private limited company, though there is no business operations under my name, I have just incorporated the company. I have certificate of incorporations in my hand. I do need to comply with the ROC filings as on today. So the one, my MSME friends who are not complying with this need to comply at the utmost. So as I was talking, sometimes, it brings me to the fact, what is the cost of being compliant, and what is the cost of being non-compliant? So what matters the most, being compliant or being non-compliant? Sometimes if you see, being non-compliant costs you more than being compliant today. So why we are emphasizing on this, why every MSME needs to take care of this, is because of the financial penalties, late fee, interest charges, and the blocked ITC. I am talking about this because any of the compliances, basic compliances, which I was talking about, and we are missing on the same, it attracts these financial penalties to us. Then again, there are some opportunities which will be missed by MSME today just because they are non-compliant. They can disqualify from tenders, vendor programs, and any of the government schemes. And to add on, I should not say that it comes with a reputational damage too, right? And foremost thing which we every MSME looks forward for is the funding thing. In what if on being non-compliant there is a rejection of loan, right? I would just like to float questions to my all my MSME. How many MSMEs are there who are export ready but are having or is having their import export code registration with them, or are aware of the thing that if I need to be on import export thing, I need to have my import export code registration with me? Or else there are various startup benefits, Yes, I do agree that every MSME is not a startup, but at the same time, every startup is a MSME, right? So there are some benefits for my startup MSME friends also. But how many of us today have that DPIT recognition certificate with us? Or we are aware of the fact that I need to have? How many MSME friends may be interested, in taking the in the government tender, but do we hold the proper Udyam registration on records? Do we have that NSIC registration on records? If not, it's high time that we should take care of all these basic compliances and comply at the earliest. Now, there are some checklists which I feel that every MSME, should take care of. First and foremost, if you're not having it, please go and register your MSME today itself for Udyam registration, because it lays down the foundation for all your MSME benefits and update details as your business grow. Even if you do not need some manual intervention in updating your Udyam registration, but at the same time, your IT returns and GST returns needs to be updated because it auto fetches the data from there. Accordingly, as I was talking about, do have the GST registration. If you are having your GST registration certificates on records, please file your GSTR 1 and 3B on time to avoid penalties and blocking of your ITC. Reconcile your ITC monthly to add on to the GST part. You all are aware why this ITC matters to now. Use your GSTR2B reports to verify and claim your ITC. As I was talking and I am saying again and again, annual ITR, you need to be there. Labor law compliance, if you have missed on the same, please go and have it. Industrial approvals, the state approvals that I was talking about, and all the local clearances needs to have it in place. Digital accounting, if we are not following on the digital accounting, it is a need of an hour today. All the MSME units must implement a software to automate compliance tasks and reduce errors. If not, there must be a dedicated manpower to take care of it. And last and the foremost is like professional support. We should all engage any professional and utilize government accurate portals for accurate filings. So there are some key takeaways also that I have taken down for my MSME friends. I feel that being compliant today, or your MSME compliance, is a gateway to growth. Just don't treat it as a mere paperwork. It is your business growth infrastructure. It formalizes your Udyam, GST, MCA registrations. It is nothing. It is building your legitimacy. My proper GST filing and timely GST filing and ITC reconciliation can protect my cash flow, right? My clean tax and labor compliance will improve my credibility. That is in turn is going to build trust. Talk about unlocking the opportunities. My access to loans, subsidies, tenders, and corporate clients is only possible if I am compliant today and avoiding risk. We all do not want to have any penalties, any legal named in the name of my MSME unit. So why not to being a compliant today rather than being a non-compliant today? So I would happy to take any questions if I have any.
Hi, Ankita. Thank you for this session. We have a couple of questions.
Yes, Ankita.
Yeah. One is from Ashif. He is asking, How to
Mhm.
update email and mobile number in Udyam registration? He is not able to find the option to update his email and mobile number.
No, it's very easy, Asif. What he can do, Ankita, it's just visit on the Udyam portal site, Udyam government portal site, and there is a tab, edit. A tab is there. So on clicking that edit, anyone can update their basic details like mobile number and the email IDs.
Okay,
It is
okay.
very easy, no paperwork, no documentation is needed for the same. With a glance, it can be done.
Got it. Okay, okay. Thank you. Now there is one more question from Sarla.
Okay.
She's asking, we are a trading dealer. Mainly we
Mhm.
purchase and sell the product or items. Are we
Okay.
eligible for registration under MSME? So I think they are mainly traders. They are asking if they are eligible
Yes.
for
Yes.
MSME registration.
Yes, Ankita, we can take this question. Rather, it will clarify the niche area जो है उद्यम registration का to all my
Correct.
viewers. See, Udyam registration can be taken by anyone, irrespective of the fact whether you are a trader, whether you are a service provider, or you are a manufacturer. Even if you are a trader, you should register yourself under the Udyam. Why MSME registration when I'm meaning Udyam? Because all the other benefits which a MSME can take, they cannot go on this. When I talk about benefits, it talks about incentives, MSME Samadhan or ODR wala thing. They cannot tap being a trader. But again, when I talk about the PLI benefits, banking benefits, even if you are of a trader category, you can tap on the advantage of the same. So you should register. Even if you're a trader, one should register under Udyam registration.
Okay, 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 great. Thank you for answering these two questions.
Ankita, I would just like to clarify one thing. Ideally, why there is a gap between this, firstly, when this Udyam was introduced in the name of Udyog, it was
Hmm.
open for all,
Okay,
manufacturer, service provider, and trader. But again,
okay,
there was some notification and the trader was not included in it. ठीक है
okay,
so trader was deprived of this MSME benefits, but again there is a notification in the year 2020 itself that
okay,
traders can take the benefit, but their benefits will be restricted only to the PLI or the banking thing, so they can.
okay. Okay,
Yes.
got it, got it. Thank you for sharing this insight. I think it must have helped a lot of our, audiences.
Yes.
Anybody else on YouTube, if you have any questions? Okay, okay. We have a couple of questions. We
Mm-hmm.
have one from Sampada. What is the option to file a case for delayed payments?
Okay. So, as I was talking about in my earlier slides also, one of the advantage being a registered MSME or a registered Udyam holder is
Mm-hmm.
if my payment is stuck, right? I can tap the benefits of the MSME Samadhan, which is extensively known as MSME ODR portal. And it is under
Okay,
the central program, central government program, under the RAMP scheme. Okay. So
okay,
if you have any delayed payment and if you're an MSME supplier, you can file your claims on the MSME ODR portal.
okay. Got it.
Yes.
Okay. And we have one more question from a
Mhm.
user. How to unlock subsidies for MSMEs and which type of subsidies?
Okay, so as I was talking about, there are n number of subsidies announced by the government in every budget, I would say they propose for
Hmm.
any state level or any central level schemes. So if you are a MSME manufacturer and a service provider, depending on which state you fall on, you can check on the state industrial guidelines and see what kind of subsidies you can tap on. Supposedly sitting in Maharashtra, right? If I talk about, there are every incentive, manufacturing sector is incentivized, tourism sector is incentivized, to some extent, service sector is also incentivized. So it needs to take proper care. But again, The bottom line here also, Ankita, stands if and if only I'm compliant
Compliant.
towards
Correct.
all these basic registrations. Even if
Correct.
I'm
Correct.
missing on any one of them same, I'll be losing on the opportunity to tap the benefits of the subsidy.
Correct. Correct. Correct.
Yes.
So yeah, I think what you said is so true that the cost of non-compliance is so high. इतने सारे
Yes.
benefits है जो avail नहीं कर सकते simply if you're non-compliant, and the effort needed to become compliant is nothing in front of that.
Yes, and
So
whatever I was covering also, Ankita, these all were basic compliance only. We were not talking
correct,
about any other compliance, right? And
correct,
all are very hassle-free, consumer or MSME oriented. So we need to take care of all these things. But you know what?
absolutely,
What I feel the problem today here lies is एमएसएमई फील्स उनके दिमाग में ना बस वही आता है सेल्स बिजनेस and how to grow their business. So that is the reason somehow or the other they become ignorant on this fact. How to
correct,
stay compliant. Yes.
right, absolutely. Okay, okay, we have one more question from Nisha. Is it
Okay.
necessary to get GST registration right after incorporation?
Yes, मैं पहले भी ये बता रही थी अंकिता कि सी जीएसटी registration though it's mandatory, right? But at the right time, taking it or availing it at the right time also matters the most. Why? Supposedly you incorporate a company at the very ideation stage. You don't have any business inflow or outflow there. But you take कि नहीं नहीं मेरे को तो कंपनी बन गया, so I need to take my GST registration also. Yes, I suggest go for it, but pehle you should know what are the pros and cons. And one
Right.
should ideally go once they are at the scaling stage. Because if now, right now at the incorporation stage you take, you need to comply with the monthly and the quarterly returns of GSTR 1 and 3B. Even if your proposals, or rather even if your sales stands at zero, you need to file the nil return. So that awareness also needs to be taken care of while taking care कि मेरे को जीएसटी रजिस्ट्रेशन लेना है या नहीं ऐसा.
Okay, okay, got it. Okay, thank you so much, Ankita, once again for this, such an insightful session and for answering all the questions that our audience had. I'm sure we will receive more questions, and we'll ensure that those questions reach out to you and you can just
Yes,
answer them for our audience and we can email it back to them. So if
yes,
any of our audiences has any questions even after this session, even if you're watching the recording, please feel free to drop your questions in the comments below, and we will we will make sure that the answer reaches back to you. Also, now I wanted to speak about one more thing. I wanted to speak about our app called Iris Peridot. It is specially designed and made for all the MSMEs like you all. It Our aim is to empower MSMEs with the right set of tools to remain compliant, to get access to experts like Ankita, to get access to finance. And now we have a few new things that we have launched. Firstly, we have launched business loans. We are now providing collateral-free business loans, and they are via RBI registered lending partners. The process is completely transparent and simple. It is online. So you can access to finance. We also, in line with today's webinar, we have launched Registration Hub is a free platform where you have structured guides made to help you with your MSME registrations. If you want to do udyam registration, GST, shop and establishment act, you can simply go to the website. All details are mentioned in very simplified manner. There is a document checklist, there is a downloadable PDF that you can use. And along with this, we also have registrations that are actually going to help you grow your business 10 times, 20 times. So registrations like GEM, ONDC, TREADS, we have it all. We have made it simple for you all, and it's all given there in a structured manner. So please make sure that you go through it. For all our YouTube audience, I'm dropping the link in the chat bot. You can go through it. And along with this, we have other tools as schemes and scheme matchmaking. So you can find schemes that are relevant for you and your business, and invoicing and MSME TV where you're watching us live. So, yes, please check out Iris Peridot. I'm sure you will find a lot of value in it. And once again, I would like to thank Ankita for, coming here and taking this webinar. We are really honored to have you. And I'm sure we'll be doing more webinars in the future. Um, so yes, thanks a lot. And
Thank you.
thank you to our audience also for being patient and listening to us. If you have any suggestions about what topics we should pick up, what topics you want Ankita to take up, please drop those also in the comments. So we know we'll take it up definitely.
Thank you, Ankita. Just one thing I would like to add on, as this whole webinar was in association with MSME Care also. So I would just like to give my audience what is MSME Care all about. As I was talking throughout my webinar season, ki what is the cost of being non-compliant? So this is what is the agenda that MSME Care has taken. It's like to spread an awareness to all my MSME friends, in terms of registrations, in terms of incentives, in terms of various MSME benefits that is announced by the state and the central government every now and then. So, how an MSME can take care of all these things, and moreover, how can they take care of their working capital at the same time, is what MSME care is also all about.
Yes,
Yeah.
it's really, feels good to see companies that are actually helping out MSMEs and empowering them with tools and information. So,
Yes.
thank you so much once again. And we will see you all next time for the next webinar. So stay tuned. Have a good evening. Bye-bye.
Bye. Thank you, Ankita. Bye.
Bye.